If you feel like no matter how you organize, your pantry always ends up looking like this, then you've come to the right video. I'm going to walk you through not just a pantry organize, but a pantry organize that is sustainable. One that actually helps you with cooking instead of stressing you out while cooking. Over the past decade of creating organization content, I have tried a wide variety of organization systems for pantries, and I am unpacking all of the best and the worst in this video. Okay, we're obviously going to start our pantry organize by taking everything out. It's just, you gotta do it when it's time to organize. And while I do this, let's talk about pantry organization. What is it about pantries that make them get disorganized? And why is it that that's a problem? So, pantries are common culprits for getting messy for a lot of different reasons. One, it's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of various foods, cans, bags, boxes, bottles, you get the point. In general, a lot of inventory. And it's inventory that moves really quickly. Most of us are buying groceries at least once a week or more, and most of us are going into our pantries multiple times a day to grab food that is in them. And for many of us, we might be going into our pantries when we are already in a rush, right? We're trying to pull together dinner, we have hungry kids, it was a busy day at work, and now we just want to eat. So it's really easy to slip out of organizational structures or routines that we might have. The big problem with a disorganized pantry, however, is that it is not conducive to cooking. One of the quotes that I love from James Clear's book, Atomic Habits, is where he says that environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. And this is so true, especially when it comes to your kitchen. When your pantry is a mess, it is harder to cook. It is harder to plan meals. It's harder to even see what you have. It makes the mental load of making meals 10 times harder. It also makes us much less motivated and encouraged to cook at home. But when our pantry is clean and organized, suddenly dinner feels less overwhelming. You're more likely to cook because the space makes it easier to take that action. By setting up an environment that is conducive to cooking, it is like an invisible hand that will make you more likely to cook and will make it more enjoyable to cook. Okay, so once everything is removed, it is time to purge. Now, obviously we're gonna remove like the expired stuff and the stuff that we're not using and the stuff that's actually empty. These are the easy wins, but I also want you to pull out two other kinds of things. One is overstock, and the second is what we are going to call outliers. So overstock is being things beyond what you bought for maybe the next like 2 to 3 weeks. Like you stocked up on beans because they were on sale, or you're a Costco shopper, or whatever. Personally, I am not against having overstock, especially in a kitchen. I think that it works really, really well, and it makes a lot of sense. I actually used to shy away from overstock because I thought that it was just messy. I thought it was impossible to get things organized when you had overstock. But getting older, especially as a mom, I have found that sometimes overstock is just necessary. With 4 kids, buying some stuff in bulk just makes sense, and it is well worth it. But I'm going to show you a few minutes later in this video how I treat my overstock now so it's not overwhelming my space and like my systems, my organization systems, and like weighing it down. Then the other stuff that we're removing is what I call outliers. Outliers are things that are not normal foods that you cook. I have a mom who brings me at least one random pantry item every time she comes to visit. Like it was on sale, or she thinks my kids will like it, and that's great. I love that she thought of me. But the problem is random pantry items are not on your normal meal rotation. They are not something that you eat regularly. So without a push or a reminder to use them, you are going to forget about them and ignore them over and over and over again. So you have 2 choices for what you can do with your outliers, okay? The first one is just let them go, right? Just add them to your donation pile, take them to the food pantry. Maybe you just like don't have the mental energy to think about them right now, or to think about how you're going to incorporate these random food items into your meal planning. Don't overthink it. Don't be like, you know what, I just might eat these. A lot of these random items can become more work than they are worth. So gift yourself the gift of not having to think about them again. The other option is to create a bin for your outliers. And then what you need to do is challenge yourself actively to choose at least 1 to 2 items from this bin every single week to make or to incorporate into your meals. So for example, I have this beer bread that my mom bought me when she was in Ireland. She was in Ireland over a year ago. Okay, that's how long this box of beer bread has been sitting in my pantry. It's not expired yet, so I can still use it. I'm going to plan it into a meal. We're actually having breakfast for dinner tonight, so I'm gonna make this as a side, because maybe if my kids decide today is the day they don't like eggs anymore, there'll be some bread that they can eat. And by challenging yourself to use an outlier every single week, any outliers that you fail to incorporate week after week after week might stick out like a sore thumb of what you can't use up, like what you just cannot seem to ever figure out a way to incorporate into a meal, and then you can donate it then. Okay, we've purged, and now what we're left with is mostly just like our regular stuff that we use often. We want to create zones in our pantry. We want to store like items together. This seems really obvious. You're probably like, Kallie, this is not rocket scientist, but many pantries don't have this. And that makes it impossible to know where to put things away. It makes it really hard to find things when you're looking for it. So common zones might be canned goods, baking goods, breakfast items, dinner items, snacks. You might have other zones that make sense for you, like beverages or health foods. Grouping like items together in your pantry basically acts like a shortcut to your brain. It's a way of reducing decision fatigue, and it speeds up your mental search process. When everything has a designated home based on its category, like snacks, breakfast items, pastas, your brain can quickly learn where to look. It's similar how grocery stores organize their aisles. You instinctively know where to go in your grocery store to get stuff. And we've all had that experience where we go into a new grocery store and we don't know where to find anything because we haven't created those shortcuts in our brain. Once you have your zones and you've organized your food into those zones, it is time now to return the food to the pantry in those zones. So this is where some type of compartmentalization can really help, and it depends so much on your pantry situation on which ones you want to use. So in our old kitchen, we had a really nice pantry situation. We had these really pretty pull-out drawers. I organized each drawer as a zone, and I used drawer dividers to further help compartmentalize. But my current pantry is less pretty. It's less functional. We have like a pull-out drawer, and then we have just like a regular cupboard sort of thing, but I want to use it to show you that even awkward pantries can work with the right organization structures. I'm using these utility style bins. They come in large and medium. I use them in my kids' playroom. These are like one of my favorite organization items ever. And I'm going to group all of my like items together. And then it's really easy because now you can just like pull these out. If you're working with like your baking stuff or your breakfast essentials, you can just like pull the whole thing out and use what you need and then just replace it. And then yes, I am labeling everything. I'm going to label the bins. I'm going to label the shelves because yes, labeling things makes it look nice. But to me, I think that labeling is so key when it comes to good organization, and I will die on this hill that good labeling leads to good organization. Labeling when organizing helps your brain create strong visual cues and associations. Okay, there are studies that show that visual labeling reduces cognitive load. It means that your brain doesn't have to work as hard to remember where things go, and it taps into your brain's preference for patterns and categorization. I even go as far as labeling the shelf where the bin goes. I know that this might seem like overkill to some people, but trust me, it helps. I started this double labeling system in my kids' playroom to help them return items where they go. And I loved it so much for myself that I now use it all over the place. It makes tidying and putting things away so much easier. Again, it's a shortcut, less cognitive load. Labels also just help when you have many people in a single home, okay? It's not just me living in this house, right? I have my husband, I have at least one child who is of reading age, so he can read labels. We have babysitters that come through. My mom comes to stay with us frequently, so it just helps everyone know how to use and how to make use of the organization system that I have created in the pantry, make it more effective and make it easier for everybody to maintain and to utilize. And especially in a place like a pantry with so many moving parts, this kind of visual consistency saves time and it helps with reducing that daily where is it frustration, especially when it comes to cooking. And on the topic of labeling, let's quickly cover decanting foods. Okay, so you can see I did decant some of my baking supplies like flour and sugar. Now my alter ego decants everything, right? My alter ego has a pantry with beautiful clear bins for literally everything from my nuts to my crackers to my chocolate chips. But through trying a handful of different organization systems in my pantry over the years, I've learned that a fully decanted pantry is just not one that I personally can maintain. As pretty and useful as it can be, just doesn't happen in my house. So instead, I just decant the baking goods, mainly because they come in such irritating packaging that keeping them in the pantry in their packaging is basically pointless. And I don't decant every single other thing. I do know about myself that I'm the kind of person that likes to be able to see all of my food at once. Like when I'm putting things away, I need it to be quick and easy. This is important to me. And I think it's important that you take into account what kind of organizer you are and how you use your pantry when you organize. What works for one person might not work fully for another person, and that is fine. I have learned about myself that I needed to be quick and I needed to be visual. Okay, so lastly, let's cover the overstock stuff that we talked about at the beginning. So there's a few ways to treat your overstock stuff. I have a shelf in my basement for like my bulky overstock, or the overstock that is like really cumbersome and a lot, right? I went to Costco and I bought like 24 mac and cheeses, or like a huge pallet of black beans. Those live in the basement. But as far as my smaller overstock, like maybe I bought 2 salad dressings because they were buy one get one free, or I have some leftover flour in a bag after I filled up my flour bin, these are the things I do keep in my pantry, but I have a specific overstock spot for them so that they're not in like my main everyday use area. Like I literally have a spot for overstock flours, for overstock spices, for overstock sauces. So I am removing them from the everyday use pantry items and sort of making them their own categories. Okay, that kind of felt like a marathon, but I wanted to make sure that I included all of my tips and tricks and insights when it comes to organizing pantries. And I hope that some of these tips, tricks, and insights help you when looking at your pantry next time that you organize it. I do also want to let you know that I have a meal planning ebook. I'm going to link that down below. It is my meal planning guide. It talks about how I'm actually successful with meal planning, not just successful with it, but how I actually stick to meal planning week after week. It includes my meal planning sheets, a kitchen and pantry inventory, and a bunch more of like great printables that you can use in planners. And it is available for sale on my store, or it will be the free printable on my Substack Printable Vault next month. So if you want to become a supporting subscriber on Substack, you can get that one for free when I launch it next week. Not next week, next month. Maybe actually by the time this video goes live, it will be next week. Thanks so much for stopping by and watching this video. As always, I hope you are having a fantastic day. Remember to be kind to yourself and others, and I will see you all in my next video.